Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Sideline Banter. I'm Sam Holt. This week, Derek is unable to make it. He is on vacation with the family, but luckily I have the amazing Kendall Valenzuela from Fantasy Life joining me to talk wide receivers, a little bit of smash or pass. Let's go ahead and get right into it. What is up, Kendall? How are you doing today?
Hi,
Thank you
Sam.
for joining.
How's it going? How are you? How's everything?
I'm great. I'm much better now that I get to hang out with you for a quick 30 to talk about wide receivers. Anyone, if you have questions in the chat, again, we're talking receivers today, so throw them in there and we will get to them as soon as they come up. But I just want to start off right off the bat, a little bit of wide receiver news to kick us off. Obviously, Jordan Addison is suspended for 3 games. We kind of saw a suspension coming for that personal conduct issue, but I don't know that it's really affecting his overall ADP in terms of where I'm taking him. Once he's back, he's right in there as their wide receiver 2 and going to have consistent volume.
Yeah, I agree. I haven't even really looked at where he's been going right now. But I assume, it stays in the same range. We kind of knew this one was coming. There were reports from ESPN over the weekend that the Vikings did expect the 3 games. So we were kind of just waiting for the league to come down with it. In his absence, super, super big leagues, leagues with bigger, roster spots that they can fill, bench spots that they can fill. Jalen Naylor seems like the guy that's going to step up. Again, it's only 3 games, so I'm with you, Sam. I'm not someone that's not like just going out of my way to not take Jordan Addison because of these 3 games, but you kind of just always have to be aware, cognizant of what's going on. So just be aware that you're going to take zeros for the first 3 weeks. We always want to be cautious with that kind of stuff and take calculated risks with some of those guys.
Yeah, and then his first week back would be in Dublin against the Steelers. So that's kind of a fun first game back as a quick trip across the pond.
Love that.
Love that. I really want to go to that game, but it's probably not going to happen.
You should go. What are you talking about? Why not? Book it right now during the show.
Oh my gosh, because 1, tickets are incredibly expensive. Side quest, just going to get tickets. Tickets are crazy expensive. Getting time off is also a big thing in season, but alas, we move on. But positive news, Keenan Allen has a new home, back in his old home. He's back with the Chargers, signed a 1-year deal for $8.5 million. Doesn't really affect Ladd McConkey at all, but does this really affect Quentin Johnston in terms of his value for you? Or is it just kind of like...
Yeah, I mean... I wasn't necessarily drafting Quentin Johnston. I think it's good. I think it's good though for the Chargers, right? Some veteran presence in there. I don't think it affects Ladd McConkey. Maybe we have to talk a little bit more about, Trey Harris, but this doesn't impact Ladd McConkey for me moving him down the ranks at all, but I do think, it's good. It doesn't move the needle at all for me, but sorry, Quentin Johnston. We weren't drafting you anyway.
Sorry about that. But hey, at least he's got a home and it's a 1-year deal. I kind of feel like this could be, a one and done type of a moment where he's back. He gets to retire as a Charger and go out on a good season. They should be shaping up well. There's a lot of good talk coming out of Chargers camp as well.
I like it. Yeah, more on Trey Harris, Quinn Johnston than anything else. Then lad drafters, you're totally fine.
Yeah,
we knew that.
Completely safe. Let's see. Oh, this one comment on the subject from Joseph. I feel like it shows QJ and Trey may not be fully ready in the Chargers' eyes, getting Herbert a reliable veteran. Yeah, I think that's also a good call too. Again, it's just safety net. That's what Keenan Allen is. He's a good safety net.
Yeah.
But
good franchise guy.
Yeah, good franchise guy. I want to get right into our smash or pass, which has been a lot of fun. I think that most of these are going to be these middle tier wide receivers. So it's really just more of who would you rather in a vacuum on these two. They're going to come across a lot of ADPs where some people are going to be drafting them, maybe one or the other. So I wanted to go back and forth between the two with you.
Love it. Let's do it.
All right, so first 2, we've got our Jaxon Smith-Njigba and Tyreek Hill, both tier 3, top-end tier 3 wide receivers. Tyreek Hill being consensus wide receiver 11 on Fantasy Life rankings and JSN being wide receiver 17. I think between the two, there's obviously a higher routes run for JSN, but in terms of ADOT, obviously Tyreek Hill wins there. Between the two, in a nutshell, is it really just... You're dependent on Tua's health for Tyreek, so that knocks him down a peg, and you're also knocked down a peg by having Sam Darnold with JSN.
Yeah, I go back and forth on these two a lot because like you said, they're very similar. Of course, that's why we're doing this draft or pass with the ADPs because Tyreek Hill, I think on underdog is sitting at 21 overall, pick 21, JSN pick 32. Again, we know those wide receivers are really pushed up the boards there, but I do have to say that probably if it was between the two, I would be going Tyreek Hill, and I don't feel great about it. But
Really?
if you have to ask me right now, only because I think it's a really big deal that Jonnu Smith is now no longer in the picture. I think that
Yeah.
frees up 110 plus targets from last season, which was just it was just crazy that that's how they kind of ran that offense through Jonnu Smith, through Achan, who I believe, we all know Achan is still going to get his, but it really is, Sam, a question mark of Tua Tagovailoa, and like if he can
Mm,
be healthy. Because if you take Tyreek Hill and they go to their backups, hopefully they're still just peppering Tyreek Hill with targets no matter what.
yeah.
But the health of Tua Tagovailoa is always something that is super questionable. So I look at it and I say, okay, I'm looking at my exposure at 2 on underdog, and I've kind of split them, which I've just been like, I don't really know. I don't know if I
Mhm.
want Tyreek Hill. I don't know if I want JSN fully. But I do think because of the Jonnu Smith leaving, I really do think that opens up a lot of things for Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And so it's just hoping that this offense can continue to at least go in the right direction with Tua Tagovailoa. But it's a scary pick, and I don't necessarily, I'm not in love with either of them. Tyreek Hill's older, but I still just got to believe that he's still fast, and he's just someone that can still get out there, get open. And again, if we're looking at target volume, just as a whole, like, he's going to be targeted every single game.
He's going to get the targets. And so I think maybe it's also, I think it's important for people to hear. Like with Jonnu Smith obviously not being there, vacating that many targets, maybe feel a little bit more confident because Hill didn't put up the numbers that you wanted him last season to necessarily put up going into. And that's why he's dropped in terms of tiers. He's not sitting in tier 2, he's sitting in tier 3 for wide
Yeah.
receivers.
Ugh.
But then I'm
The
really surprised to hear you out on JSN just
I'm
because,
not
I mean,
I'm not
you're
out. I'm just like between
you're a
the
homer, no?
two. I know I am a homer. I love my Seattle Seahawks. It's just kind of crazy that we're at this point now where like Tyreek Hill is in a tier 3 kind of profile, like a wide receiver 2 profile, and JSN is kind of right there with him. Like I just think it's funny how how time moves like that. But for me, like JSN, it's all dependent on Sam Darnold. And I'm trying not to be a hater of Sam Darnold because we
Sure.
love what he did with the Minnesota Vikings last season. But I think he ran so pure just in terms of overall wide receiver room. I love JSN, but he is not a Justin Jefferson. Even our number 2 in Cooper Kupp is not a Jordan Addison. Even if he's going to miss time there, they are still able to function with TJ Hawkinson and everyone. So I'm a little bit nervous about Sam Darnold, especially with the offensive line and him being under pressure. I do think he'll probably look better than what I'm giving him credit for. But just Sam Darnold under pressure in general is not a good recipe for success. And again, he was with Kevin O'Connell. Sam, he's like
Yeah.
the quarterback whisperer. We saw him at the Super Bowl. So it just makes me a little bit more nervous. But like I said, I'm not out on JSN. I don't think the price is around 3 price. So we kind of know what we're getting there. But it is still concerning. Like if Sam Darnold were to go down, it'd be Jalen Milroe season.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe you'll get to see what you're going to build with for the future for your Seahawks. I don't know.
Yeah.
But we're not
Right.
wishing for rebuilds to start the season off. We're looking for upside, and we're looking for people to feel good about their draft picks. So
Yeah, JSN has like last thing on JSN that I will say, like if these are two totally different players too, because Tyreek Hill is
yeah,
old, the wide receiver age cliff could be happening and we could be seeing it in real time, or he could still be Tyreek Hill, fast as hell. He's going to get peppered with targets. JSN, if you want to go on the younger side, that's something that I've also been doing because he has a projection, like he could potentially have 150 plus targets in an offense that actually isn't that bad, that Sam Darnold is able to stay, upright and lead this team a little bit. So if you want to go younger that way, that's why JSN is still obviously at the forefront of our minds.
yeah, definitely still at the forefront of our
Yeah.
minds. So, I mean, with all of that, you've laid out an amazing case on both sides, and I feel like we've got plenty. That's the reason why I wanted to put these two against each other, because I was going back and forth, and I was like, that's why this is a good combo to talk to Kendall about.
Mhm.
So smash or pass,
Ugh.
JSN or Tyreek Hill?
Oh my gosh, this is awful. This is awful, actually. Give me Tyreek, but I don't like it. Give me Tyreek.
Tyreek,
Not
but you
happy
don't
about
like
it.
it. Yeah. I feel like because of the vacated Johnny Smith targets, I'm gonna go with him as well. But
we don't like it.
We don't like it. It doesn't feel safe. I don't feel safe. I don't feel good about it.
I know.
Maybe this one will feel better about with the next one. Okay. Hopefully it's not as painful for these two, unless I've just done an amazing job at picking them.
You have. You're incredible.
I love you so much.
Awful.
All right. We've got Marvin Harrison Jr. versus Mike Evans. Again, tier 3 wide receivers. In that middle section, Evans consensus wide receiver 13, Harrison consensus wide receiver 19 on Fantasy Life. Really close on a few things, but kind of separated by their utilization score. And I feel like it's just because of the consistency that you get from Evans year in and year out. He has not missed a season without 1,000 yards. So his utilization score is 79, while Harrison's is 67. Couple stats there in the sheets for us in terms of routes. Obviously, Harrison has more, but is he just a track star? Because in terms of targets per route run, Evans is higher there with 26% to 21%. But you've got Harrison with a higher ADOT. He's younger. You've got a little bit more, oomph behind that pass there from Kyler. I feel like that's part of the reason. But they're really close in terms of where you go back and forth. You've got such a secure floor with Evans because he's just been that guy. They have had a couple changes on the offensive line, though. Is that going to really affect him? Not give Baker as much time. Where are you leaning when you see these two names?
I'm leaning right now more Mike Evans than I am But I still, listen, I'm going to be totally honest. And this is not me trying to split the middle. I'm still drafting Marvin Harrison Jr. because I was burned by him last season. So he could absolutely not do it again. Like, he absolutely has to not do it again, right? No, probably not. And I'll just cry about it on the internet again. But I'm absolutely going Mike Evans if it's between the two. I think Marvin Harrison Jr.'s price right now, too, is just like extremely expensive for what he was able or wasn't able to give us last season. He's going pick 28 over on Underdog. It's a little bit better, when you get to ESPN, he's going around pick 50. Mike Evans is around 48, 49. So they're pretty close over there too. But I'm going Mike Evans. Chris Godwin hasn't practiced yet, and he could be on the way to potentially starting the year on the PUP list, or just, not being a guy that gets close to 100% during week 1. I still really like Chris Godwin, but for me, Mike Evans averaged 14.3 points per game in games with Chris Godwin, and he was just able to be this alpha receiver last year, even though he did get a little banged up. He's just the model of consistency, the 1,000 yards for however many consecutive seasons. I'm just looking at him and I'm saying, okay, I still want a piece of you. It's not ever time to fade Mike Evans, but especially this season, like he is still, even though he's 32 years old, he has still provided us over the last 3 seasons 14.9, 16.8, and I see 17.5 points per game over the last 3 years. So it's hard to argue as a wide receiver 2, which is the range that you're going to get him. It's hard to argue him over, Marvin Harrison Jr., who hasn't proved anything yet. And hopefully, like I said, he does. But if we're comparing the two and I want someone that's just a little bit more stable and grounded, it's probably going to be Mike Evans for me.
I think with where you're going to be getting him, and you're targeting someone with a secure floor. That's why he makes sense.
Yeah.
But, it is the preseason, and we saw James Harrison come in looking pretty jacked. He's definitely put on some muscle coming into this new season, so there's a lot of hype there. Maybe people would be swayed. This is smash or pass, so maybe, smash a little bit more. Just saying. But I feel like for myself, if I'm drafting between the two, I also really want consistency, so I'm kind of leaning Evans. Plus, even though he missed 3 games last year, he still hit 1,000 yards. Exactly. So it's just the numbers are just there and they're not going anywhere. And I think that back and forth as well, knowing that Godwin's dealing with an injury, maybe he starts on the PUP list. Egbuka's looking good as well. He's not got a lot of competition.
And I might be back in on the Arizona Cardinals, but obviously the cost is a little bit cheaper than last season. So for me, like Marvin Harrison Jr., he needs more short, intermediate routes, just to be able to see him unlock a new level of his game. And that's what I'm hoping we see this season, because his underlying data, like when you look from Dwayne, he put it out at fantasylife.com. It was all over the place. Like you see, I've got it in front of me, wide receiver 3 worthy on first downs at 22%. His targets were at 23%, which was wide receiver 2 worthy. But then you look at his yards per route run, and it was 1.63, which was wide receiver 4 worthy. So it was just one of these things where you look and you're like, okay, short, intermediate routes for Marvin Harrison Jr. could potentially unlock this new level of this game. So if you want, again, it's like the same conversation, Sam. If you want a younger guy who potentially has a ceiling that you say, okay, we haven't reached this yet. He has this potential. If Kyler Murray really is going to be better this season, their chemistry is going to be better, which we all hope it is. It just seemed like they were totally not on the same page last season. Then I am okay. And I have been taking Marvin Harrison Jr., but it really just depends on how you're building your teams and how much risk, or, you know, if you don't think it's a risk, you're willing to take for some of these guys.
Yeah. Risk averse, stay with Evans if you're looking for upside and want something flashy and you're, you know, wowed by the preseason hype of, you know, the new jacked Marvin Harrison Jr., then maybe
best shape of his life.
Good. Yeah, best shape of his life. He's looking amazing. Scampers in the chat saying I'm only fading Mike Evans during his gold jacket ceremony.
Yes.
Definitely understand that. And even during that ceremony, you don't know how many yards he could get. That ceremony.
He could still, exactly. He's probably still going to come out there.
Yeah, he's going to come out running and make a catch.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Let's see. And then if it's for my wide receiver 2 spot or wide receiver 3, I'm going 0 RB and I'm 100% going MHJ.
Love it.
Lots of back and forth between these. So yeah, to sum it up, smash or pass. It feels like we're both smashing on Mike Evans here.
Oh yeah, I'm good. I'm good with Mike Evans. Model of consistent guy, another 1,000-yard season. We can't fade Mike Evans.
No, absolutely not. All right, really quick, just got to talk a little bit about this fun raffle going on at Women of Fantasy Football, who I'm so grateful to have this lovely platform to have a show on. Every August, Women of Fantasy Football raffles off a series of jerseys to raise money for our scholarship fund with Galvanize, an organization founded by NFL sideline reporter Laura Oakman to provide women in sports media the tools and to be successful. Live now on the website, we're raffling off a signed Nico Collins Texans jersey, perfect for wide receivers night. Tickets are $5 a piece, and the raffle ends on 8/27, so at the end of this month. Winners will be announced on August 28th. Go to womenoffantasyfootball.com or just hit the direct link in the description of this podcast to get your tickets today. Help out a great organization as they shape the voices of the next generation of sports media. So go and bid on that.
Nice.
Love it. All right, another smash or pass, and then some quick ones to round us out for the night. We've got Courtland Sutton versus DeVonta Smith. Another set of tier 3 wide receivers. This is the back and forth that everyone's been going through. I'm imagining people taking, you know, Bijan Robinson early. Someone's taking Josh Allen, and they're in these later rounds, and they've got to decide between these wide receivers. This is the tough calls people need to make. Both, again, low-end wide receiver, tier 3s. Consensus, we've got Sutton at wide receiver 25, while Smith is at 26. So they're neck and neck. Utilization scores are also very close. Sutton coming in at 78, while DeVonta Smith is at 71. And all of their numbers are just back and forth, very, very close in terms of routes. 23% for Sutton versus 20 for Smith. And then ADOT is really the biggest difference between the two. And I think it has to do with young quarterback and lots of young legs, with 14 ADOT for Sutton versus a 9.7 for Smith with the Eagles. It's splitting hairs, I think, between the two, but that's why I wanted to talk about it with you, because Bo Nix's hype this offseason is on fire. And if anything, it's like the post-Super Bowl slump for the Eagles, and no one's talking about these players. But these two are neck and neck. So how do you split the difference?
They're in, again, you did a great job, per usual, Sam, of picking players that I hate this, and I want everyone to know that I'm having a great time. I'm enjoying this, but I'm not enjoying this because these guys are so, I mean, these two especially are so close together. So when I look at it and I'm saying to myself, okay, what's the potential here? Again, I know people are probably going to look at DeVonta Smith and say, you know, something along the lines of, well, you know, this team did not pass that much last season. And that's totally like, but when we're looking at team pass attempts per game, the Philadelphia Eagles were dead last, 32. And then it was the Baltimore Ravens. And then it was the Green Bay Packers. You know, Jordan Love was a little bit hurt. They were really relying on, you know, look at those guys. You were relying on Josh Jacobs. You were relying on Derrick Henry. You're relying on Saquon Barkley. The Philadelphia Eagles have they have a tough schedule going into this season. Obviously, they just won the Super Bowl, so you're going to face tough competition. So when I look at this, I actually think to myself that I'm going to go more with DeVonta Smith in this range than I am with Courtland Sutton. Projections wise, like Courtland Sutton is projected 944 receiving yards, and I see about how many touchdowns do we have? Seven touchdowns for Courtland Sutton, which is really solid. But for DeVonta Smith, it's kind of like one of these things where we have him projected for more yards, sitting at over 1,000, almost it's a 1,054 yards, and then 8 touchdowns. So again, they're really close. It just depends on what kind of offense you're looking for, because I know a lot of people really like Bo Nix, and Courtland Sutton is the wide receiver 1 in that offense. So you can look in that and say, hey, I want this wide receiver 1 in an offense that I know hopefully is going to get better with Bo Nix. I just think he's a mid-range wide receiver 3, just because of the lack of realistic wide receiver 1 upside. When we look at his profile, the potential that he has to come down with these things, I'm a little bit, I don't know why, just a little bit more worried about Courtland Sutton going into this season. And it's not a full fade. It's just one of these things where if I'm tasked with saying, okay, round 5, DeVonta Smith, Courtland Sutton, I like Smith a lot. I like DeVonta Smith. It's someone I drafted last season too, where, I was okay with it. So this is a really hard one though. Again, split right down the middle probably for most people. And I think a lot of people are going to go Sutton with this one, which wouldn't be wrong.
No, I don't think, and again, this is why I wanted to go between the two, because these are the hard choices that people are going to have to make. And in the chat, a lot of people are saying Sutton all the way between the two, just in terms of potential upside. Do they like them a little bit more? I mean, I get it too. Obviously, Sean Payton doing a lot second year with this offense. That's where a lot of the hype is. But I'm kind of with you in terms of having the consistency that someone like Smith gets you. And in terms of just being a high volume offense, and we know what those targets are. I wonder also if maybe there's some hesitation for myself too, where because the Broncos offense is going to be so high powered and there's so much hype behind it, could there be more of a spread between the additional pass catchers there just because they're planning on gearing up this offense so much?
Yeah, there could be. I just think I look at Courtland Sutton and, last season when we look at his profile, which really was, much more, he was much more involved in that offense, obviously. But when we look at like yards per route run over the course of the season, it wasn't wide receiver 1 kind of alpha material for Courtland Sutton. And so that's another thing that, again, Dwayne McFarland does a great job. So make sure everyone go to fantasylife.com and check that out. But that's why I always see like Smith's delivered us this wide receiver 2 production. Like we've seen it from DeVonta Smith, even in a run heavy offense, we've seen it. So I just think this team for the Eagles, again, we saw that they were last in pass attempts last season. I think that fully changes this year because they had, it was a league low. So it was dead last, 48% dropback rate last season. I just don't know if Saquon Barkley gets that same workload. And if people are believing that he doesn't, which it shows in the ADP, they're not taking him 101. They're scared about the workload, the usage all the way until February last season. So to me, if you're worried about the workload and you don't think they're going to give that back to Saquon Barkley, then that means they're going through the air a little bit more. And for me, DeVonta Smith has shown us that wide receiver 2 production, even in a run heavy offense. So not that I don't hate Courtland Sutton. I just don't think he has, the chops and everything to have just this amazing wide receiver 1 type season.
Yeah.
For fantasy.
In terms of being built as someone that you feel confident is like, he's the wide receiver 1. When you look at someone like we just talked about Mike Evans, he's clear cut. You know what you're getting from him, and it's a certain level of consistency you feel good about. We don't have those numbers and that back end behind us to know that about Sutton as well too. I feel like that kind of plays into it as well. Joseph saying, going to coin flip to decide between them.
Yes, Joseph. Same. That's what I'm doing right now. You guys don't see me, but I'm on the side right here, and I'm just like, okay, whenever Sam asks me one, I'm just going to flip a coin, and that's why we landed on DeVonta Smith.
Yes. So it sounds like we're both smashing on DeVonta Smith then.
Yeah, I just like him more. And again, I don't hate Courtland Sutton. It's just something that I'm just not overly excited about him going into this season as I am with DeVonta Smith. I know. We got to trust our gut, Sam.
We do have to trust our gut. We're going to get into, to finish this out, some really quick back and forth, smash or pass.
But
I got this one from Mr. Scampers that I think I'm going to use to kick us off because it's just a good one. Nitty gritty smash or pass from Scampers here. Cedric Tillman or Darius Slayton?
Cedric Tillman, 1,000. I've actually been like drafting Cedric Tillman, which is kind of gross and disgusting, but I truly actually have been drafting Cedric Tillman this season, which is odd, but I have been. So I have to go with him.
Yeah, I can't with Slayton, so I guess I'll go Tillman as well. Just a
like
really
that
quick
one though.
a good way to just, these last ones are supposed to be just very quick in terms of like go with your gut.
Okay.
So I wanted to use that one, and I felt
you
like
and I always
Scampers
talk.
set it
What
up.
are we talking about? The quick. We never talk about anything quickly.
We literally don't, but it's okay. All right, so I've got 3 that are sets that are teammates. So we're going to do these really quick. And we've already talked about this one a little bit earlier. Chris Godwin versus Emeka Egbuka. You got the rookie versus the veteran with an injury. Smash or pass?
Yeah, Emeka Egbuka for me here. And I like at some point a couple weeks ago, I had to look inward, Sam, and I looked at my exposure and I said to myself, I don't have enough Emeka Egbuka. It's like even though this is a crowded offense, if one of either Chris Godwin or Mike Evans were to go down, which we saw last season, and again, Chris Godwin, we don't like these updates aren't phenomenal that we're getting, like still not being out there for training camp and someone coming off an ankle injury like that. We probably know right now that he's not going to be 100% or be able to get up to 100% of his speed, for week 1. So if either of those guys were to go down, Emeka Egbuka, and we still love Jalen McMillan, but Emeka Egbuka would step into this huge or big enough workload where he would outperform his ADP almost immediately if he's able to be the guy that they drafted him to be. So when I look at this, Chris Godwin, if you're drafting him, just be cautious and careful, maybe plan for not having him taking some zeros for a few weeks, but I do like Emeka Egbuka, and I need to get more of him for sure.
I mean, Baker also came out and said how excited he is about his talent as well. So when the quarterback's talking about him, I think that you need to listen. So I'm also going to be smashing on Egbuka as well.
Love it.
All right. Another set of 2 teammates. We've got DJ Moore versus Rome Odunze. DJ Moore being a tier 3 versus Odunze at a tier 5. So different ADP value. But in terms of who you'd rather have, steady floor versus high upside with Odunze, smash or pass?
Yeah, give me DJ Moore. Even if he's being a little bit of a diva this offseason. Who he's just trying to see what he can get away with a new head coach. He's like, what can I do? They say they're gonna, line him up in the backfield. Okay, DJ Moore, like we're back in. I mean, it's been sporadic for him, right? The last 3 seasons, I see 11.8, 17.1, 14, and 14.0 points per game. So I think I'm going to go DJ Moore. He had a career low average depth of target. He at some points wasn't the first look for Caleb Williams last year either, which was really, really odd. I saw that stat a couple days ago, I think from The Athletic for Next Gen Stats, but it was just one of these things where I still want to believe that DJ Moore is going to be the focal point of this offense, even though he's a little upset. It's a little tough there with, a brand new head coach, but in Ben Johnson, but give me DJ Moore over Rome Odunze.
I'll go Odunze just because of the value getting him later.
True.
In terms of who else I'm going to look for. I just feel like I like the upside, and when I'm going for a wide receiver later in these tiers, I'd rather, if I had to pick between the 2 to have one from that team, I'd go Odunze late.
I like it.
And now these 2 are really splitting hairs. We've got Rashee Rice tier 3 versus Xavier Worthy tier 4. I mean, in terms of obvious wide receiver 1, it's not necessarily super obvious, but Rashee Rice gets the edge there. But in terms of value where you're taking both of them, if you're taking either of them, smash or pass?
Yeah, give me Xavier Worthy on this one. I'm a little bit, I just want to know what the suspension's going to look like for Rashee Rice. I just have heard around that 6 games. 6 games is a lot.
Ooh, that is a lot.
Games
that
is a lot.
3.
If it's 4, it's, you're kind of like, all right, 4 games, just like we talked about with Jordan Addison. It's not necessarily making you look at him and say, oh, I absolutely can't draft him anymore because of these suspensions. But I really do like the potential with Xavier Worthy. And I really also like Patrick Mahomes going into this season. Not that anyone's never, I mean, people don't like him, but for fantasy football purposes, I know he hasn't finished as a top 10 quarterback in the last 2 seasons. But man, if this team, Sam, first of all, stays healthy, second of all, is able to just become more explosive again, like we've seen before in the past, like I think that, you know, Patrick Mahomes can deliver a really good fantasy season. And it starts with Rashee Rice being out there. Hopefully, you know, we'll see what it is. But if it's 6 games, that's a lot. And that's enough for me to look at Xavier Worthy and say, you know what, I want more pieces of him than anyone else in this offense. Because we saw once he got a full-time role last season, like he just went off. It took a long time. Granted, it took a long time for that to happen and for them to fully give him that role. Once Rashee Rice comes back, he does take over, you know, the alpha tendencies there. But I'm still looking at Xavier Worthy, and I've definitely drafted him more. Looking at my exposure across drafts and platforms, I've definitely drafted him more than Rashee Rice right now.
I'm in the same boat as you, so I'm definitely going to go Xavier Worthy as well.
Yeah.
And then the last one, because I mean, why not? If you have to pick between ice cream and ice cream, 2 good things.
Yes,
it's going to be tough. Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson?
Oh, Jamar Chase. Sorry,
Smash.
Smash Jamar Chase. I mean, it's what, the 101. People aren't drafted. I said it. Saquon Barkley. People are nervous about Saquon Barkley, so they're not nervous, I say, as he goes like off the board at pick 5. But still, you know, he's not the consensus 101, really. I've seen more Bijan go ahead of Saquon Barkley this season than anything else. So give me Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow.
I have a lot of Jamar Chase in several dynasty leagues, and I have one dynasty league where I've got both of them. Just to flex, because
that's amazing. I bet your league mates hate you, because I would. I'd be like, Sam, what the hell? Like, let me win a little.
Yeah, I know.
That's awesome.
It's because I sacrificed like an entire season.
But did you win? But did you win?
I won 2 years in a row.
Exactly. I like it.
It's fine. It's fine. Why not both? All right. Let everyone know what you've got going on, Kendall, because I know you got 1,000 things going on, and I am just grateful to have your time here tonight.
Of course. Well, Sam and I hang out all the time, so that's usually what I'm doing. If I'm not at home, I'm usually with her. So find me with Sam Holt every other weekend. But no, really, fantasylife.com. We upgraded the website. It looks absolutely amazing. If I do say so myself, I am biased though. But you guys can use my code Kendall20. That gets you 20% off any Fantasy Life tier 1 or tier 2 subscription. So Sam talked a lot about the utilization. Dwayne does a great job at that utilization suite. We've got the comparison tool that is live. We've got, you know, Best Ball HQ. That's where I see all of my exposures for the going into the 2025 season. Rankings, projections, draft champion, mock draft simulator, like Sam, everything you need to kind of dominate your drafts going forward. And then in season, you know, we got you covered with everything that you need for waiver wire stuff and trade analyzers, all the good stuff. So fantasylife.com is where you can go for that. Use that code Kendall20, 20% off any tier 1 or tier 2 subscription. And then we're on SiriusXM, baby. We are back. So you can catch me and Adam Ronis 7 a.m. Pacific time, 7 to 9 Pacific time. Monday through Friday. So it's been fun. Happy to be here.
Love that. I'm so glad you got to join me. And guys, again, that raffle is going on over on womenoffantasyfootball.com. Tickets are $5. Nico Collins signed jersey. Go and get it. We talked wide receivers. We love them. We love them for PPR purposes. Thanks again for coming on with me, Kendall.
Anytime, Sam. Anytime. Happy to be here. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us too.
I know, right? Now I'm going to try and not mess this up by hitting end stream and letting the outro video run. But bye, guys. I'll see you next week.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Hit it.
If I don't mess this up. And